Hello. No. Hello, world. As I started to get into this whole keto lifestyle, I started learning about 1, 2, 3, 4! Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Mariana and this is Low Carb Mama Bear. Today I'll be sharing about my journey from just where I was to why I made this lifestyle change, how I started off keto and then moved to where I am now, which is low carb. I'm just here enjoying a bit of my hot cocoa. You can find the recipe up there. It's quite hot still. I can't figure out the right timing. I feel like sometimes the amount of time I put, it's enough, and sometimes it's just too hot. So, how are you guys? How have you been? How's the journey going? Please let me know in the comments below. I want to hear all about it. And as well, if you're finding my videos helpful in your journey, if you've taken on any of the tips that I have shared that have worked for me, tips that you might not have heard before. Okay. I think if I'm to start from the very start, it would be, okay, I might start with 2019. I wasn't going to be starting there, but for some reason I just thought of it and I'm going to share. So basically in 2019, I lived with a housemate that was vegan for health reasons, and we were sharing every meal together. So, because we were sharing our meals together, we mainly cooked vegan food because it was easier instead of making two different dishes, and she enjoyed very much being part of the dinner, as in eating something similar or if not the same. So instead of cooking two different things, most of us would just basically do vegan food. And so for that whole year, I was eating vegan food, mainly a bit of meat here and there, but not really, just mainly vegan. And I found that my energy levels were really low, and my friend, she was taking supplements and, she was recommended by the doctor to do this lifestyle. So, she was taking care of herself. She knew what she was doing, but I was just kind of going along with the journey. Anyways, so then I knew very much growing up that, our food is our fuel. My mom is so health conscious. I have been very lucky to, have grown up with my mom. Other kids would be drinking soda pop. I don't never call it soda pop. I don't know why I just said that. Soda, Coca-Cola. I don't even know how I call it. Soft drinks. That's the word. I never drink them. So while other kids were drinking that, I and my siblings were drinking juice. And I mean, as you may know, juice is not great. And my mom eventually found out, and she found out that it was just full of sugar. And so she ended up just taking it out. Anyways, so then in 2020, when I turned 25, I realized that there were some changes going on in my stomach, in the way I was digesting things. I just couldn't digest the same way. I couldn't digest food the same way I used to. I was having loads of stomach pains and whatnot, and I was having a lot of heart reflux. Is that how you call it? Haven't talked about it in a while. The acid reflux. I was having a lot of acid reflux, and it was just not great. I remember one night it actually woke me up. This was later in the year of 2020, maybe around October, November. It's coming out. Maybe it's too much information. But basically, it was just, something needed to be done. I was just like, there has to be something that I can take that can help me. And I was taking Tums because that's what my mom used to take. She didn't know any better, and I didn't know any better. You don't learn this stuff at school, so you kind of go with what everybody else is doing sometimes. And so that, anti-acid is, you'd think, anti-acid, you're having acid reflux, So I ended up going to the doctor, and he prescribed me this thing. I don't even know the name of it anymore, but basically it was gonna alleviate me for 30 days. I could only take it for 30 days, and then after that I had to stop because it had really bad side effects. I can't even remember. I didn't even read the thing. I was just like, you know what? I need it, and took it for a month, and I felt so good. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like myself again. And then next minute I stopped it because I had to, and I was back where I was before seeing the doctor. So then I kind of took my time to, go see someone. I was aware of, like there's these people called naturopaths and nutritionists, and I should go see them because the doctor didn't work out and he didn't really suggest anything. And so at the start of 2021, I ended up going to see, I Googled naturopath, nutritionist, and I found this lady. I went to see her. We talked about it. She suggested cutting off some stuff, and she also, did what my husband had suggested, which was replace different things. And I started feeling okay, but it wasn't enough. I went to see in August this other nutritionist, and she really heard me out, and she was hearing my symptoms, and I wasn't feeling great. I don't know, I can't remember really what she suggested because I just saw her once and then I saw her again. And she really wanted me to work on my mental health. I don't know if she was aware yet, and she just didn't say anything, but about how like there's a kind of like gut and a mental health connection, and maybe my gut was just not great. Anyway, at the time I was living in New Zealand, and so from 2020, the start of 2020 to the end of 2021, I was living in New Zealand. And so these naturopaths, nutritionists were in New Zealand. And so at the end of August, like I think right at the end or start of September, I'm pretty sure right at the end of August, we, as the world was opening up, New Zealand went into lockdown. I was working from home and I had a lot of time, and in between kind of meetings and projects and everything, I got this ad. You probably have seen it as well, potentially, of like this Mind Valley, I think it was, kind of thing. And I was like intrigued, and I was just kind of annoyed that you had to pay for it. I saw quite a few ads and videos of this guy talking and, oh, sign up to my thing, blah, blah, blah. And like so many people have had changes, and we did this together, and like, at this retreat, and everybody made a change and they feel great. And I think the first ad I saw of him was like, would you give donuts to your coworkers or something like that, or you won't want to give donuts after hearing this, blah blah blah. Anyways, I'm glad I kind of like ended up checking his videos out, even though they didn't really give out much information, because I then started getting ads from the people that I shared in my first video. I'm not really sure what made me kind of just look, maybe the titles, like at that point. I need to backtrack a little bit. So basically, I was dating this guy, and he's Irish, from Ireland. I was stuck in New Zealand because if I left, I couldn't come back for my job. We started dating, thought we were going to see each other way sooner than we ended up seeing each other. During the first lockdown, I didn't really gain any weight, but in my second year there in New Zealand, not because of lockdown, because we didn't really have any lockdowns at the start of the year, I just started piling up the weight. Not that I like gained heaps of weight. I was borderline, I think, what in medical terms, maybe, I don't know if it's medical terms, but basically I was overweight. I would have been considered overweight at the time. And I did the whole calculation, I forgot the name of it. And so anyways, I was going to be seeing him in that Christmas 2021. We had seen each other in person back in 2018, so it had been a while since we saw each other in person. And he kind of, I guess you can kind of tell, yes and no, but like, how a person is looks like behind like a camera. you can have an idea. And like, you know, whenever I look back at the videos we would send, or the screenshots that, not screenshots, screen recordings that we did, I did kind of like feel like I was a bit more fuller. And even I have pictures, and I just kind of like, I was not feeling comfortable in myself. And the fact that I was going to be seeing him kind of like motivated me to find something, to do something about myself, not just so that I can feel better, but also mainly so that I can look better. And so that's really what I'd say potentially pushed me to kind of like click on those videos, whatever they might have said, maybe lose weight and shed this, and you know, anyways, I ended up binge watching like heaps of videos, like so many of them, just information after information. I was just kind of like a sponge that September during the first part of the lockdown, because it lasted quite a long time. I think I started seeing people and saying goodbye to people in November. So it was a long time, a long lockdown. Anyways, that's in the past. I was just like, okay, like I feel like I have enough information to actually start this journey. And it's so funny because, like, you know, I'm pretty sure you might have experienced this. You might not have, but once you set yourself to do something and you start, there's always like a temptation straight away. My one was, I was craving donuts for some reason right before I started my journey. But anyways, I decided to, like, you know, because you had to buy, you couldn't, because shops weren't open, you couldn't just buy one donut. I had to buy like 6 donuts, and I have no self-control. So I was just like, I cannot buy 6 donuts. And even though I had, I'm pretty sure, 5 flatmates at the time where I was living, I was like, I'm not gonna be okay, maybe I would have shared, but I just had no self-control, so who knows. I decided not to buy any donuts before I started kind of like my last hurrah or anything, you know. I did 36-hour fast, and then I had my first meal, and you know, I was like, oh, this is okay. And then the first temptation was, I feel like I started on a Tuesday for some reason. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday. And then on Sundays, my flat would have meal together, or we would pick a day, actually. We would pick a day during the week where we would have a meal together, share, you know, either cooking or takeout. And that Sunday, we had it of that week that I started it. And I was kind of like, oh, should I just like have it, you know, have a meal with my friends, or should I, like, you know, stick to it? And then I'm like, oh, I would like to share a meal, but then I'm like, I know myself. I feel like I was kind of like going back and forth for a few days because I had time to prepare myself mentally, and then finally I decided not to. I ate my dinner with them, and they knew what I was doing, that I had started this keto thing. But the thing is, the person that chose that week they chose fish and chips, and oh my gosh, like we had this favorite place, and the fish and chips there were so good, and it was just fried. And oh, I used to love to have a squid, what is it called, calamari. I used to love to have calamari, and again, it's the batter, I forget the name of it, but anyways, so it was a really hard one for me to let go. I think that's why I was kind of going back and forth. But actually, when it came, I was like very like happy with myself, and I was not feeling like I was being left out or that I was missing out, which is very good, very important. And then I received an email the following week. I think it was again a Tuesday. And my job decided to honor all of their employees by getting them, you know, a little surprise. And they said, look out during the day that you're going to receive your surprise. And lo and behold, I received some donuts. And I was just like, no. I've done a week. I've been doing good. And I was just like looking at them. I thanked the person that gave it to me, and I didn't say anything. I didn't know that, you know, they had already people's like requirements for like dietary requirements. I ended up like messaging them afterwards and updating mine for the future, which didn't end up happening because anyways I left. So basically, yeah, they were huge as well. They looked so good, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And then I just kind of had to step away from the room. So I left them in the dining room, and I went into my room, and I just kind of left them there. And I think I was like, I'm gonna have to share, because if not, I might just eat it all, you know. So I wrote in the group chat, hey guys, my flat group chat, I received some donuts from work, and you guys know I'm doing this, so you know you're welcome to have some. And I was still like, oh, am I gonna, like, you know, fall into temptation? Well, it's fall into temptation. Am I gonna like be tempted and just have one? You know, I've been craving one. After like an hour or so, I came back into the dining room, and I looked at them, and I don't know, for those who have been already in this journey, if this has happened to you, but for me, I just had like a step back, and I was just looking at them, and they kind of smelled artificial. It was very colorful too. And I was just like, it just looked not plastic. I'm not going to say plastic, but it just looked like fake food, basically. Not fake food as in like plastic fake food, but just like it just didn't look appetizing anymore. And it's just, I think I could smell the sugar, and it was just overpowering. And I was just kind of like, oh no, I actually don't want any anymore. And I was at peace with that, and it was incredible. In my mind, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said no to a donut. And my flatmates loved it, so they didn't go to waste at all. And I didn't regret it at all either. And I think I mentioned in my last video about how like I was like, oh my gosh, I want some cheesecake. What am I going to do? And then I was like, oh, wait a second, cheesecake, cream cheese. Oh, I can make this. I ended up finding the perfect recipe, and I shared it in this video. I ended up going on a search for a keto donut, and I was so disappointed. I paid, I don't even know how much for those donuts, and they were just not great, honestly. It was just, it's a struggle. When you're first starting, you kind of just try everything, you know? Which is also why I decided to create my channel, because I have tried a lot of recipes. I have tried a lot of places. I've tried a lot of different products, and I have found the things that have work and the things that don't disappoint me anyways, and don't disappoint people around me maybe as well, especially those not doing low carb. But anyways, yeah, so that's why I'm in this journey of sharing with you guys just what I have found, because I know it can be useful and helpful, especially if you're in the start of your journey, or if you haven't found your go-to recipes yet. And it's hard trying recipe after recipe, and it's just like, it can cost a lot. So after that really bad experience of that donut, I started looking for recipes online, and I've always, as I said in my last video, loved chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. Basically, I started looking at different recipes, and I found a recipe, and I made a big batch of, so like one of them was I mean, it's in his character. I think it's also in his culture to be very direct. I come from a very direct culture too, so it wasn't like super like shocking, but it was a bit disappointing, because which actually I appreciate when people are honest rather than being like, oh yeah, you know, fluffy, and not telling me the truth, what they actually think. Anyways, so basically he was like, oh no, these taste bland, this doesn't taste like, you know, like sweet at all. And I was just like, oh my gosh, right before I was like, this is so good. And I guess it's because my palate had gotten used to not eating a lot of sugar, so I was able to actually enjoy these, because they weren't that bad, honestly, but they weren't like the recipe that I showed in this video. Oh my gosh, you have to check them out. They're so good. So anyways, that recipe kind of launched me into finding a recipe that would also that other people would be able to enjoy, that are not really doing this lifestyle. So yeah, recommend, highly recommend. Also, you can follow me for future recipes, because I'm going to be continuing sharing all the recipes that I have found. I'm someone that likes quick and easy straightforward recipes, not complicated ones that take forever or that take heaps of ingredients, and that I enjoy, and that my husband enjoys, and that my friends enjoy. So stay tuned. As I started to get into this whole keto lifestyle, I started learning about intermittent fasting, and so I started eating 2 meals, and then I quickly started eating just 1 meal, and that was amazing for me. I'm like the type of person, I love eating well, like I love enjoying my food, but I hate, okay, hate is a strong word. I don't like cooking. So doing 1 meal was great. It took away the need of like breakfast, lunch, and I didn't even get hungry. That was the great part. Like I was able to get out of bed, get ready, go to work, do my work, and come back. Oh, actually, now that I remember, I wasn't even going to work. I mean, I was, but I wasn't because we were in lockdown. But I was able to go about my day and not worry about, cooking and all of that stuff. And so I just, whenever it was my time to eat, I would just prepare it and eat, and I was fine until the next day, same time. I think I did kind of go over an hour once, and I started getting hungry. So I was like, okay, so I have to be eating at the same time because that's how my body works. So a lot of the lollies, that's how they call them in New Zealand. I still call them that way. A lot of the candies and chocolate that I was buying were from Australia, and oh my gosh, I still miss them. Like I feel like I found like the ones, even though I did find a recipe for gummy bears, and not those kind of like jello gummy bears, like actual texture gummy bears. So again, stay tuned. But yeah, the lollies in Australia were just great, which is, anyways, I'm not gonna go into a rant. No, I'm not gonna go into a rant. So basically, yeah, it was kind of hard leaving that. And then when I moved to Ireland to be closer to my boyfriend, I found it really hard. I was like looking online all the time just to find like, sweets that I can have and everything. And I can't, everything has like dextrose and all those artificial candy. Like, it annoys me how so many people advertise like sweets and chocolate like as it healthy, or it has less, maybe they don't advertise it as healthy, but it's implied by them saying like less sugar. I need to check out if they actually don't say, if they actually do say that it's healthy. But anyways, it's just so like it enrages me. I missed a section. So I ended up going back home, Montreal. I guess I was living in New Zealand, but anyways, my parents' home, and my boyfriend went at the time went to see me there, and we ended up getting engaged. And so we started planning the wedding straight away, and we decided to get married in 2022. First, I wanted to get married in May because of my age. But then, because he's a bit younger, and so after June, I was going to be even more older, so I wanted to get married before. But we ended up getting married in July. And so, anyways, I started planning, and I was like, eating 1 meal a day, and I was losing weight. But then I also kind of plateaued. And it happens to a lot of women. It's much more, well, it happens more to women basically, than men. Men can continue losing, but for some reason women plateau. But that doesn't mean that you've stopped losing weight. It just means that it's gonna get slower. One thing that really stuck to me that Dr. Berg said once was that it's better to get healthy and then have as a consequence the fact that you're losing weight, rather than like, seeking to lose weight first. It's better to seek health first. And I must admit that at that point I was kind of like seeking like losing weight. And so then when I heard him say that, I was just like, yes, that's true. And then I just had to kind of like settle in that. And I actually stopped weighing myself. I was weighing myself, I think, at the start, maybe every single day. And then I started doing once a week. And then I just stopped all completely, like 2022, I did not weigh myself. And then we got married and I ended up weighing myself, I think right before or right after. And I didn't say this at the beginning. I was at 75 kg. Okay, so my journey goes, I binge watch videos September. I started at the start of October, and then, I continued on keto until after I got married. I was at 75 kg before I started, and then after my wedding, or around the time of my wedding, I was 62 kgs, which was amazing, and I hadn't been that weight since I don't even know when. And it's just, even like my friends came over from Montreal for my wedding, my bridesmaids, shout out to you guys, and they immediately saw a change in me as well. They were like, wow, like, you've lost so much weight. And that's because, like, I don't think they had ever seen me that thin. And it's not that I was a unhealthy thin. Like, at that point I was eating 2 meals a day because my husband, my fiance of the time and now husband, wanted to have lunch with me and dinner. So I had to kind of let go of the 1 meal a day to share that with him, share those meals with him, because it was important for him. So, I let that go. And I was like, I think actually maybe I'm speculating here, that might have been one of the things that might have helped me, because it's not good to do 1 meal a day for women that are still in their cycle. But that's the story for another time. That might have helped me losing weight as well. So after we got married, I actually started doing a less strict keto, and then actually ended up getting pregnant during our honeymoon. And I very much stuck to low carb. I was still not trying to eat bread or sugar. I did have some at different points, which was hard because then I couldn't do my 36-hour fast to restart, because obviously I was pregnant, and it's not recommended to do that when pregnant, just so you know. In case you don't. So yeah, I was mainly keto during my pregnancy, and I was still, trying to eat well, and I was eating sort of 3 meals a day, I think. I was listening to my body mainly. I can't even remember. It feels like so long ago. It has been a year almost now. My baby's 9 months and a half. Oh my God. Oh, which then brings me to the sad reality of, so I'm solely breastfeeding, and that tends to push out the time when us women receive our cycle back. And it was 18 months after getting pregnant that I have gotten back my cycle. Yay. Well, the good thing, actually, it used to be painful, and this time it wasn't, so it's great. But it also now brings me to this. So there's this woman that I listened to in a podcast. I'll put her name because I can't remember. She shared that she has found out in her research that, it's good to do keto in the first part of your cycle, and then do a carb cycling on the second part of your cycle. And so that's why I kind of am in a weird limbo of keto, low carb. And I don't want to say I'm keto, because then a lot of like keto people might be like, you're not keto. Nisha shared she was carnivore-ish for the month of July, I think last year, and people were like, that's not carnivore. I don't even know what she was doing, maybe putting cheese, I don't know what it was exactly, but she was kind of like, chill out, people. And I don't want to have to do that. So I'm kind of like low carb keto, or like just saying low carb, and then, but really I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm both. And obviously I try to stick to healthy carbs. I have had some bread though. I've had sourdough bread, because through the research that I've done, sourdough bread seems to be the one to go for. There's people that might say like sprouted bread and stuff like that, but the one that I'm only gonna have is the sourdough bread, even though I would be interested in seeing, if there's like sorghum bread or millet bread. But I live in the UK, and I feel like they're so behind here. Like, there's absolutely no options. Which also brings me to say, now that I'm no longer restricted by the title keto as well, I'm able to have this hot chocolate, which is made with 85% chocolate. Because that's the thing as well. Like, I'm not gonna share. I mean, you might see it, a package of these chocolate chips, keto chocolate chips that I was buying. I no longer buy them. I still have heaps of them because I stocked up because they upped the price a little bit. But it's just so annoying how expensive everything is when it just has the title keto. I feel like people think that, I mean, I've read the people from these companies sharing how, like, oh, it's really good ingredients and, quality and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, oh, like, it's so expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. And I mean, I know they're still trying to make a profit out of the, because that's how organizations are. It's not a non-for-profit organization, so company or whatever. So it's just, I don't even know how much profit they're making, but I'm pretty sure the amount of money that we pay for these keto products, I'm really sure it's not that. I mean, I guess with everything is like super overpriced. Because of that, now I can feel more at ease having like 85% chocolate and adding it to my like hot cocoa without being like, oh, it's not keto, or it has to be keto chocolate chips. And yeah, it's just ridiculous how expensive it can be. So not having the keto title allows me to feel more at ease, as I said, and allows me to have these sort of things, these sort of luxuries, and not be restricted by just, buying keto chocolate and buying keto this and only buying keto that. So yeah, hopefully you have gotten something out of my journey, and maybe you relate to some of it. Please share your journey. I would love to hear where you're coming from, how you've gotten where you are, what you're doing at the moment, what's been helping out. I love hearing people's stories. So yeah, comment down below. Thanks again for joining me here at Low Carb Mama Bear. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Mama Bear out.